Have you managed to get the memo? Have you got your TPS reports filled out correctly? I ask you this because an employee for a company was recently arrested and charged with stealing over $302,000 after authorities say that he was inspired by the movie Office Space.
What's crazy about this is he's actually kind of stupid because it was on his company computer that he had a file literally named Office Space Project.
Incredible.
And then you were just saying you watched Office Space last night.
Yeah, I watched Office Space last night. It was incredible. So
he's remarkably similar to the character in Office Space.
Well, he's no Michael Bolton. He's no Michael Bolton from Office Space.
Best character in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, you think so?
Yeah, he was my favorite.
Well, okay. Before we get started, I need to know, why do you think Michael Bolton is the
I just thought he held it down as an actor.
Okay.
Like, I'd never seen the guy before.
He looks like more handsome Rick Moranis.
Yeah, taller, slender.
No, here's the thing. And Ron Livingston, he looks like more handsome Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, that's true.
They're both more handsome versions of more successful actors.
I thought Bolton, his character transformation was awesome too. Like, you see the psycho, you see like the normal kind of gentle, beaten down, browbeaten fellow.
Did you want to go back to Super Chats, or did you want to...
We'll come back. We'll come back to him when we get through this. So Ernest,
we're still in the Super Chat screen.
Are we still in the Super Chat screen?
I was confused.
Okay. So all right. So we'll just start over. How about we just start over? Why not?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So a guy inspired by the movie Office Space stole $302,000 for his company. He likely did not forget to move the decimal point where it needed to go. So his name was Ernie Castro, and he's facing 2 counts of felony theft and 1 count of felony identity theft.
Okay.
And he got like you said, he literally had a file on his computer.
Work computer titled Office Space Project.
And he would
not
reroute.
Good planning, buddy.
He would reroute a portion of every shipping order to a separate account for him. It's literally like it's a fraction of a penny taken off of every transaction. And my favorite part of that movie is when he's trying to explain to Joanne or whatever her name is, like, why it isn't stealing, and it's just totally stealing, and she just goes, "Isn't that stealing?" He's like, "Well, no, because they're soulless and evil." And it's funny because this movie...
Let me look at this real company and see if they're soulless and evil.
The name of the company was
Zulily.
It's so name of it's no
an e-commerce company headquartered in Seattle, owned by Curate Retail Group, target audience young mothers.
So he stole from young mothers?
Basically. Yeah. What a monster.
So he has his own. He also met a woman on Tinder. Who did you see that part?
No.
He met. So it says he met a woman on Tinder. Let me find the part down here. That was my favorite part of it because he's like a multifaceted criminal. And a third alleges the scheme said Castro had a woman that he reportedly met on Tinder send links to shopping carts full of products which he bought for pennies on the dollar.
Wow.
Like, he's a multifaceted. So he has his own Joanna, his own Jennifer Aniston in this. And I'm thinking of that movie. When I think of Office Space, I rewatched it last night. It holds up, but not as well as I would have thought. But that's because we don't live in the office culture that we used to live in.
Because like remote working.
Well,
or
not just that, but nowadays I think a lot of people would kill for a job with like good job security and like be able to put in 25 years and retire. Like nowadays it's like gig economy and you're not going to be at the same company for 25 years. Like we were
just talking about that yesterday.
The world we live in is not the same as it was in the early 2000s.
I used to temp. That was I don't know if you can still temp today. What you do is you go sign up with a temp agency. They're like, okay, let's test your skills to see how good you are. Microsoft Word, Excel, spreadsheets. Let's see how much data, what your information is, and then we'll know how qualified you are for different companies as they call us and they're like, hey, we need someone to come in and sit at the front desk today. So I'd call in 8 o'clock in the morning, be like, I'm available today. They call me back at 8:30. They're like, okay, we got a job for you on 30th Street. I take the train, get in. One job, they were like, I was like on the computer laughing at like The Onion or something, and they were like, can you not laugh while you're working, it's disturbing the other people. And I'm like, what?
So it's just like having your radio too
They
loud.
asked me to be silent and have no laugh, no smile. They asked me not to smile. They said, please don't smile while you're at the front desk.
Disturbing.
So it's just like having your radio on too loud, like Milton.
Similar, but I was like, I wasn't laughing loud. It wasn't a noise thing. It was, they didn't want me smiling because it was bothering people that were coming in.
They're like, how dare you be happy?
I thought that would be welcoming.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
I wasn't
how,
smiling at people. I was smiling at the computer, though. Maybe that's why.
It's kind of like extras in movies have to learn how to not have reactions because they can't have like a reaction outside of the norm of like what's going on in the scene.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
They wanted me as an extra up front.
You were a
Just
human
a bland
extra.
NPC.
That was the culture at a lot of those companies. I would temp at so many different companies, and I ended up getting one at Barbary in Chicago, where I ended up staying there for like 2 years. I got hired on full time, and I understand the office space resonated with me deeply because I got into that about 2001 is when I graduated college and started working.
Penetrode. That was the name of the one of the. That wasn't the name of the company. It was Inatrode, but he called it Penetrode. Initech. It's like, and the funny thing is, you look at that office park. It's every office park you've ever seen in your entire life. Like in that movie, it's every soulless. Like whenever you drive by an office park, you know what an office park is, right? It's just a bunch of smaller offices in one big business. Like, and you're like, what do these companies do?
Yeah.
It's like
email jobs.
Yeah, it's like so and so. Or it's like it's a lot of printing companies. Like, what do they print? Who do they print for? Like, no one knows.
This is what makes me think we live in a simulation.
No, it's one of my favorite things because my imagination would run wild when I would look at these companies and it's like so-and-so diagnostics. I'm like, what are they diagnosing?
Someone said that they're liminal spaces.
Yes,
the edge between reality
it used
and
to
imagination.
Be it was an inside joke in skating for us because I used to love skating in these places because they were always empty right at 5 p.m. Like every employee just runs for the hills.
Well, they would go to the bars where they would go.
So it's like, well, when I think of that, I think of the movie Boiler Room. You ever seen the movie Boiler Room
No.
with Giovanni Ribisi? Where they start a boiler room. It's part of a boiler room scam, and like, of course, they're all frat boys selling stock over the phone, and it's just. but when I think of these office spaces, it is like you could actually go skate there during the week because the building would be a freaking. And I made like a lot of observations to a friend when I was younger. Like, ever notice how the only car in an office park, like an office park building on a weekend is nice because that's the owner, because the only one who drives a nice car at these places that's nicer than like a Honda Civic or some mid-level SUV. It's always like if a guy drives like a Bentley or a BMW or some, I guess a BMW would be even mid-range, but like a higher end car, it's always the guy who owns the place because he's willing to come in on the weekends because it's his business, so he cares more about it than other people. Like, I did a lot of like random observing of office parks growing up, slightly connected to the movie Office Space, but I wonder how many office scams were going on at these places. I'm sure a lot.
Well, you'll never find out.
I'll never
if
find
they're
out.
Successful.
Like we don't work in an office park, so it's that'd be nice though.
Oh man, we would sell like programs, $1,500 programs for patent lawyers that were attempting to become lawyers. We'd give them training packages, but we could sell them for $300 or $400 and still make a profit.
There's the guy selling magazine subscriptions in the movie. He's like he's an out of work software engineer. He says, I make more money selling magazine subscriptions than I do as a software engineer.
Dude, I will advise anyone, don't ever aim to become a Mike Judge character. None of his characters are supposed to be real people. They're all like satires of real life. Do not become one of them.
I think more people have done things to like curate their life and imitate Patrick Bateman than anyone when it comes to like soulless corporate environments.
That's the American Psycho. I still never seen that. Is that awesome, that movie?
I watched it a couple years ago and I just didn't think it lived up to the hype. But it's more for like young men probably.
But you think of like in the movie, like still the greatest, like the part that always rang true to me more than anything, beyond TPS reports and obviously Lumberg, who's like Gary Cole's one of my favorite. He was
good too. It's hard to say my favorite, but I love
Gary Cole. Gary Cole's one of my favorite. If you want to look up something that's really funny, go look up the actor Steven Weber and Gary Cole. They look like they could be brothers. But it's the neighbor. The first time when he says like, I get the feeling Anne's cheating on me, he's like, yeah, I get that feeling too. And then everyone says, yeah, I get that feeling too about his girlfriend cheating on him. In the movie, it's just like, it was so early 2000s. It was just a different time. And I don't know, are there movies like that capture American culture in the same way now?
Swingers. Oh, and now I don't know.
No, I'm saying now. Like, can you think of a movie now that captures culture in the same? I kind of think of like Free Guy capturing video game culture in a weird way. The same way that this movie satirized the culture of like office work.
I didn't I tried to get into Free Guy. I didn't see the whole thing though. I saw clips. Oh, there's a lot of like close-ups of people's faces where they're like, "Yeah, go get him, man," when they're like supposed to be on a webcam or something.
Yeah.
Which I hate that trope in movies. They did it in Iron Man a lot, where it's just close-ups of Tony Stark's face in the Iron Man suit.
Well, he made a lot of money just basically being in front of a green screen.
He probably shot it at his house.
Yeah.
I mean, probably not. Maybe he went to a studio, but
I mean,
a little bit underwhelming.
They kind of a big theme of the movie is talking about like the drudgery is so soul crushing that when Tom gets hit by the car, he's like if you wait long enough, good stuff will happen to you, and the good thing that happens to him is he gets hit by a car and gets a 7-figure settlement. Like that's the big takeaway he has from it is like good things can happen to you by doing that.
I worked at this one office in Greenwich, Connecticut. I would. It was like a 2-hour commute from New York City, or an hour and 45 minutes. And they paid me for the commute, so I was making tons of money, $20 an hour plus overtime for all the commuting. And one of the guys, it was an insurance agency. They were underwriters, and he was like, "Ian," I was just temping, doing like booking their travel and stuff. He's like, "Ian, if you ever want to do anything in your life other than insurance, do it, because this is soul crushing."
See, I don't think that would happen now.
I'm not sure the words he used. He said it's the most soul sucking thing you could ever do.
See, now I think they would complain and
like
get
50.
the rules changed. Like, I think the employees would literally like bully the company into changing now rather than just accepting their fate so placidly. Mm-hmm. Like Gen Z wouldn't put up with it. They'd quit.
Yeah, he was old. He was like Boomer, the guy.
Well, I
generation.
mean, this movie is quintessential Gen X. Like Office Space is the Gen X anthem, if you think about it.
I recently saw this TikTok that well, sometimes people do a TikTok where they just like film outside their window or something, put a song on it, and just a long ass novel of a caption on it. And it was just this girl talking about like, you know what? I'm not ashamed to say it. I love my 9 to 5. I love the benefits. I love not having to make my own hours. I love not having the pressure of finding a gig.
I mean, that's how
I love being a corporate slave, basically.
Accept
and
your
it's
servitude.
because I guess the hustle culture online has pressured people to think all people have to be entrepreneurs, but that's just not what people want anymore, it seems.
That's happened with a lot of my friends. We were all actors in college, 1999, 2000, a bunch of theater actors. We graduated, went to New York City. We're like, we're going to be acting in theater. And then went to Chicago, acting in theater. And a lot of my friends from then, we would get the office job on the side.
Yeah.
And when you
to
audition,
facilitate the rest of the things you do.
the fun, what you really want to do in
Yeah.
life, which is create art and over time.
Mm-hmm.
But what would happen for a lot of people is just the nonstop auditions. You don't get paid a lot in theater, and then they get offered full time at their temp job, and they're like, yeah, I'll take it. 6 years go by, they're getting benefits. Now they have a kid that they need health insurance for. They can't have time for the theater, and they just still work there. A lot of my friends from college work in the offices.
That's a very big trope amongst that. Like they end up having to just accept that's like there's a Sage Francis song called Slow Down Gandhi where he talks about how like you're an activist when you're younger and eventually you just accept your life as a corporate drone, and like the idea and the thing is like daddy was a banker and like off goes the dreadlocks, in comes the income. The idea is like you eventually just accept your life as part of the system as you get older, right? The other thing that's funny about this story, we didn't even get to the best part of the story. First of all, in the movie, he steals $305,000.
He got so close. In this one, he stole $302,000, and unfortunately, he can't use it for legal fees because it's all gone now because he lost it in GameStop stonks. You're serious?
He invested it in GameStop options and lost it.
What a guy.
Damn.
Like, I love, like, it's
Do you support him?
He memed himself in.
You support this scheme?
I do. He memed himself in and he memed himself out.
Whoa.
Like, also, like, you have to, like, in the movie when he's talking about, he's like, oh man, he's like, white collar. He's like, if we get caught, nothing's going to happen. We'll go to a white collar jail for a couple of months and they allow conjugal visits. And then the guy's like, they allow conjugal visits in jail. And then they go to the party and like the guy's like, oh yeah, I got a couple of clients. It's no picnic in there. First thing you got to do on your first time in the Fed, he's like, you got to get someone before they get you. So they all get really scared because they realize that it's not as easy as they thought it would be. It's just stonks, man. The guy lost it. The guy lost the money. So I feel bad for Ernie. Ernie Castro could have been a hero.
Shout out.
Yeah, Ernie, what's happened?
Do you guys think that this happens more than you think? Like, I guarantee you stuff like this happens all the time. Like, there's got to be people that get away with it.
Looks like,
Definitely.
I mean, are you guys following the Logan Paul stuff?
Yeah, the NFT, the crypto.
Talk about well, I don't know if he's getting away with it, but he and his company seems to have scanned people out of $7 million.
There's a difference between just getting called out these days and actually facing consequences. It seems like he's just like this game that he's selling. It doesn't exist yet. And it seems like he's getting children to use their parents' credit cards
evil.
To pay basically for a gambling site.
Is you talking about Logan?
Yeah.
Have you guys studied the Crypto Zoo thing at all on the show yet?
I've looked into it like a very cursory amount, but it seems like you pay for like the eggs and then they evolve like Pokemon into different forms that are worth different things as fungible tokens.
Yeah, NFTs.
Yeah, so
and then they can breed and create new unique
but then
NFTs.
That's like a cool idea, I guess, but it still doesn't exist.
It's an idea that we had here a year and a half ago that Chris and I were talking about doing, that we were like, it's not technically feasible, so we're not going to do it. And then these guys go off and do it, even though they just didn't have the smart enough people around to tell them it's not technically feasible. It's too challenging to make happen especially with like 5 guys, dude, or 20 guys. Like, what do you?
He should just stick to wrestling now.
The thing is, I like Logan, but he scammed. I mean, he and his crew. And then his crew scammed him. They did. He made no money on it, but the 2 guys took $7 million and bailed on him. Have you followed this? You got to follow this story. Yeah, it's nuts.
I follow more of Logan being like a wrestling prodigy. He's a wrestling prodigy right now. He's had 3 matches this year, and he almost won like newcomer of the year from a lot of wrestlers. He's only wrestled 3 times, and all 3 of them have been really good matches.
Guys, let us know in the chat. Do you like Jake Paul boxing or Logan Paul wrestling better?
I'm a Logan stan. Oh yeah, I don't want to taint the.
I feel like I kind of like Jake Paul better at this point.
Is that what I said? I'm a Jake fan.
You like Jake better than Logan?
Fan. Yeah, I'm a Jake stan. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
All the way.
Seemed like Logan kind of
Jakey.
screwed over Jake back in the day because he they have the brother rivalry. I like that.
I don't know, guys. Look, I would. I'm not saying you should this stuff is good. I just thought it was a crazy story that he went and did this and labeled it Office Space Project. It's like he put the evidence out there the whole time and just was surprised when he got caught.
It's hilarious. So. And I will say with Logan, because this is actually very important to me. This whole thing is really, really close to home. I would love to have Logan come on the show. Any of these shows, come around. I want to talk, hang out. Like, I've always loved Logan. I have a lot of respect for him coming up as a kid on YouTube and making something great out of himself. And I hope he pays these people back. And this guy, this Eddie guy's nuts.
Yeah.
Ernie.
Ernildo.
He's nuts, but you got to respect the hustle.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.